Let's stay in Melbourne now and catch up with the CEO of the Australian Industry Group, Innes Willox. Innes, good to talk to you again. Firstly, just on that situation, you've been very distressed on behalf of business people and small business and industry in Victoria and around the country at these unnecessary lockdowns. Yet we see from these reports today that Victoria hasn't learned the lessons of just having adopted safe, straightforward infection control procedures and sticking to them.
Well, Chris, Victoria, gave us a contact tracing system from the Stone Age with pens and paper and fax machines, and now quite clearly they have proven again that they can't run the basics with hotel quarantine. And we've had 3 lockdowns in Victoria, one lasting 111 days, one most recently for 5 days, which was completely unjustified, except that they clearly have no confidence in their systems. And when you see reports like the one today in the Australian, it demonstrates to you why they have no confidence in their systems, because their systems are, quite frankly, hopeless. And this gives business no hope. It gives the community pause for enormous concern. And, we've had a local case in New South Wales today. You can't help but think if that was in Victoria, we'd now be talking about lockdowns again as sort of a big distraction from this story. And, Victoria has proven that it is quite incapable of handling these outbreaks, and that's the great concern. It's inevitable there will be another one here. That's just the reality. But the great concern for business is that straight away the government will go threatening lockdowns, and that will impact on confidence, it will impact on investment, and it will, quite frankly, set us all back a very long way. So these reports are deeply disturbing, and we just hope, from a business perspective, that government does get on top of it, stop making sort of idle boasts about how good they are, and actually do the work to protect the community.
Yeah, well said. Now, the issue I wanted to get you on the program for relates to the Victorian government and other state governments realistically setting their own independent climate goals now. Victoria is saying it's going to reduce emissions by 45 to 50% by 2030. It's talking about 50% of new vehicle sales being electric, reducing emissions even from livestock and the like. Is this good news, giving certainty to industry, or does this just add to the confusion when you've got state and federal governments going in different directions?
Well, the Victorian goals that they set out on the weekend are probably achievable, we'd say, simply because your lawn is going to be closed in 2028. So that will dramatically reduce emissions within the state. But the bigger issue here is that once again, as we've seen several times, Chris, through the energy wars since about 2006, that states are setting their own targets and going their own way. And what business wants, business doesn't stop at state borders, and businesses are mostly national. Even if they're small businesses, they have national reach and international reach, and they want certainty within the Australian jurisdiction around policy setting. So this is the concern, that if we don't get cohesion, we'll get all the states doing different things again. That will just lead to confusion. It will lead to competition among the states rather than cooperation to try and reach a goal, which is really quite achievable, which is sort of net zero or close to by 2050. It's how we get there is the key point. But if the states continue to do their own thing, it will lead to competition among states, it will lead to differences, and it will make the operating environment much more uncertain.
But some of these goals, like ensuring that we have 50% of new car sales being electric, either the market delivers that because of advances in electric cars, or, as it seems the Victorian government is suggesting, there are government subsidies to deliver that. Now, that could lead to enormous expense, not to mention problems in delivering it.
Well, that's right, Chris. Look, you've got the Victorian government too looking to put big taxes on electric vehicles at the same time that they're trying to encourage them. So that's sort of counterintuitive, as it were. But again, this is a case where we don't have cohesion among the states, and you'd have different regimes in different states. So you know what would happen then? The incentive would be for people to shop around and to buy a car, electric or otherwise, or however else it's powered, from the cheapest jurisdiction, which is not going to be beneficial to us all, to any of us. So we need the states and the Commonwealth to work together. This has been a very troubled issue for a long time. You know, electric vehicles was a big issue at the last federal election. You know, business knows where the directions are heading here. You know, it is to, you know, a future which has got more renewables, if I can put it that way, involved in the future, significantly more. But we're not going to get there just by fiat. It needs to be done through cooperation and collaboration between states and federal government to give business the certainty it needs to make the investments it needs, not just in energy, but in all sorts of other areas as well, which are energy dependent.
Thanks for joining us, Innes. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. You take care.
Innes Willox there, the CEO of the Australian Industry Group, live from Melbourne. I just want to mention again, stress this point about what we've learned about quarantine, hotel quarantine in Victoria. And that is the great work of Ewan Hannon and Damon Johnson, the journalists at the Australian newspaper, who got this information, government information, and revealed it. The Victorian government's own hotel quarantine leaders breaching their own protocols. And yet the Victorian government hadn't stood anyone aside, hadn't told the public about it. We owe a great debt of gratitude to those journalists for giving us the transparency and accountability that the government had denied the people of Victoria and of this country.